Hello, everyone. I'm North Hempstead Town Supervisor Judy Bosworth. In response to the COVID-19 pandemic, we have embarked on creating a virtual exercise series for our senior residents. We partnered with our Project Independence fitness instructors to host these virtual classes, which will allow you to stay fit and healthy by participating from the safety of your home. Please enjoy.
Hello, let's get moving, let's get warmed up. So I'm going to start gently walking in place. And I will slowly increase my intensity. Everybody's at a different level. So if you feel like it's too easy, you can start to march in place. You could even add a hop to this, which I'm not going to add. It's optional, and it gets into a whole part of exercises that are considered to be risky for many people, and maybe most people. We want to be safe. I mean, have you ever walked around, you see people wearing those, they look like a ski boot on their ankle? Yeah, it could very well be from some of those exercises, because I know a lot of people in the gym, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to see anybody hurt themselves. Always being conservative. And over time, the next week, if you feel like it's too easy, go a little harder. I'm going to start walking a little bit faster. You want to spend 10 minutes just moving your body, getting everything warmed up. Going to work a little bit more on the hips and the legs. We did, I think, for shoulders last time, and so I'm going to slow it down. I'm going to change. I'm going to add a different exercise. This time I'm going to add a side lunge. So I'm going to step to my right, I come down, step to the left. So a warm-up is to get the heart warmed up. As you start to increase this, your breathing in deep in, your heart pumps a little harder. Well, relative. So I don't have any of equipment on me. I go, how much I feel. Some people want more technically. They want to use a heart rate monitor and other devices. You're welcome to do that. So I'm going to come back to walking in place, and I'm going to start to move my shoulders and my arms around just to get my arms warmed up. Yes, I know I said we're going to be doing legs and hips, but everything's connected. I'm just moving my shoulders, my arms around, and going to add something for both arms and legs. So I'm going to do half jumping jacks. So it's just simply taking the arms around and up, take a little step, I'll touch out to the side, not even a step, I'm just touching. And you can make this as hard as you want, actually doing a full jumping jack, which I'm not going to do here. You do them really hard, you'll see I'm going to be hard to talk. I'm taking it easy, slowly warming it up. So you could even go faster with this. See, almost a skip. Never completely in the air. You see, both at one point, both of my feet are in the air. That adds a lot of impact to the body. So I'm coming back to walking in place. talking and doing this. It's supposed to get a little bit tough, so I'm gonna catch my breath. We're gonna, oh, by the way, if you have weights or a band, we're gonna use both just to warm up. I'm gonna take my band and I'm gonna start to use my upper back by holding the band about shoulder width apart, and I'm just gonna stretch the band and then return. Exhale, push on the exertion as I stretch the band out. So you're gonna use your upper back. If you may notice, you'll feel the shoulder blades drawing together. One of those neglected places, but yes, this is hips, so you can start to add the walk in place too, to keep the legs moving. So I'm keeping my heart rate up. We want to keep the heart rate up pretty much the whole time. I mean, it may settle down a little bit, but you never really want to stop. So I'm going to change this up. I'm going to take the band around my back, under my armpits, crossed over my shoulder blades, and I'm going to do presses, working the muscles in the opposite part of my front of my torso. And we will make this a little bit more challenging because it's pretty much the same muscles. So I want to change it. I want to use different muscles. I'm going to take the band up higher, like about the top of my head. And then I'm going to add a squat, ramping this up a lot. If this is too much, you could just do the squats, where I set my hips down like I'm going to sit in the chair and come back up. You start doing this and you start to feel it's too much, just do the squat. And we'll do maybe once in a while do the press. This is sort of called like a front squat, meaning that the weight is in front, but with the band it's not really the same as having a barbell in front of you. So if you may be hard for you to see from the camera angle, my hips are coming back. My knees don't come forward. You want to keep the heels grounded and pressing through the heels, not into the toes. So if you feel like you're almost going to fall back, you're doing it right. Use this. I'm going to walk in place. Some people maybe want to do more. I'm just going to walk in place as we'll come to the next exercise, because you should be feeling pretty much warmed up. Warm up should range between 5 and 10 minutes. People that are regulars can warm up in 5 minutes. We're going to add another exercise called a march. It's a lunge, alternating lunge, which is a little intense. It depends on how. So I'm going to take a step forward. See how my back heel is lifted? I push off the front heel, I come back. This is a little bit more intense. If this is too much, you can hold the chair and step back, one leg at a time. If this feels good, you take your arms up, adding a little more intensity. And making it faster makes it harder. Anytime to make it harder, you can start to add weights. The general rule, so the more weight you add, the harder it's going to get. So I'll be adding more exercises, kind of what we've done, but making it a little bit more challenging. Starting to add weight to our upper body takes a little strength in not only your shoulders, but your hands. So if you have problems with your hands, you may want to avoid those type of exercises. Not to say that you can't ever do that. So we're going to do some exercises to strengthen the hands. Now, trying to keep your hands moving, I'm going to take your legs moving, and take the arms up, just make a fist and then open. And if your hands are sore, you could do the exercises that I just showed you with using the band. But this is strengthening the muscles that are in my forearms and wrists. And you're welcome to use a mat or the floor to do these. But the basic rule, the lower you bring your hands down, the harder it's going to be on your arms and shoulders. Let's take the arms out to the side. You want to add a little bit more excitement to this. You can start to circle your arms one way and then the other. But it's really the hands. I want to see your hands squeezing like you're making a fist. Yeah, we'll shake it out a little bit as we're going to come to more of the squats, the hips and legs, the main focus of this practice. So we're going to go back to a squat, and I'm going to make it again, ramp it up, making it a little bit more intense. We'll start easy, again without the band. I'm just sitting and coming up. You're welcome to stay using no weight or just with the same motion. You can, if you feel like it's getting to be too much, you can take a break. But try to avoid sitting down. See, I'm not sitting down. I'll probably take a break. I'm just going to walk in place. But to make this harder, as I come up, like I'm pulling something down, I'm lifting the leg up, sitting back down. You'll see this will get harder very quickly. Remember, the exhale on the exertion. Inhale, exhale. Can't stress the breath enough while we exercise. And I'm going to walk in place. You're welcome to do some more. But we're going to slow it down, and then I'm going to add some more for the arms and shoulders. We're going to do some presses, some variation of the press, which i.e. a push-up. But we did it with the band. Remember having the band over your shoulders? Another option is to use the floor. Or like I said, the lower my hands come, the harder it is. So I'm raising the floor up to me by using a chair. I'm putting my hands on the chair. I'm making sure my shoulders are over the hands, and I'm going to step back. This is the plank. Now, with the problem, what we see with people with this is they get tired and the hips will droop down, or the hips will lift up. Now I'm starting to go into a down dog, which is okay to take a break, but if you get tired, I would prefer you to step forward and come up. That's something we're going to be working on very shortly, just straightening up. It takes a lot of muscle strength in the back in that movement. I'll show another option for planks for people with hands that are having problems. It's called the forearm plank, which I find harder than the regular plank. I feel it more in my midsection. So this time I'm going to bring my elbows down. I'm going to step back. Same thing here. If you start to get tired, you'll start, the hips will droop, or hips will stick up. But this here is a great core strengthening, exercise. And again, if you get tired, instead of dropping down to the ground, just stepping up. Now, I'm going to stop here because this is where the next exercise comes in. See how my back is straight. My legs are firm, even though there's, like, you see a little bend in my knees, and then I straighten up. This leads into some really great exercise, but it can be a little bit challenging and can actually be injured. So we're going to go slow. So I'm just going to walk in place. We may come back and use those plank poses again. Plank poses and squats. That's really basically just about all you would need to do to keep yourself strong. But there's another exercises that are, again, a little bit more aggressive. So we're going to just go slow. So I'm going to stand in front of the chair. My legs are firm. You can see, if I look down, you can see my kneecaps are lifting up because I'm using the muscles in the legs. I'm going to fold forward like I'm bending, bowing down. My back is flat. I don't want to round. My back is flat, and I just come up. Sounds easy, right? So I'm going to do that again. And we'll add on to this. I come back up. So see how I'm going down easily. But as I come up faster. I'm pushing my hips forward. I'm going to add on. I'm going to lower my hands down onto my legs. And up and down. Inhale, I lower down. Inhale, I'm accelerating as I come up. Some people call these good mornings, and you can make this harder, of course, always with weight. Another trick is I can use my hands behind my head, and I'm putting more weight into my hips as I come down. I'll get into the weights very slowly. Don't rush into using more weights. Get the movement down first. See, my back is flat when I come up. So I'm going to gently use more weight. I'm going to use the band. So now I'm actually using real resistance. So I'm going to stand on the band. I'm going to hold the band like my back is flat. My hands are almost onto my legs. My legs are firm but bent, and I just stand up. And I'm going to slowly lower down. And I'm coming up. So the band is actually getting less resistance as I lower down and I come up. But as I lower down, just like the band, the back of my body is stretching and loading up. So as I come up, there is a lot of force being released. So I'm going to do a couple more of these. Okay, I haven't told you what they are. This is technically called a deadlift. Something I've stayed away from, and it's starting to become, it has started to become very popular in the gym. So I'm going to come out easily, release, and I'm going to come back to walking in place. Because there's a whole workout method. It's called power weightlifting. And basically, there's only 3 exercises. Number 1, the main exercise, is the squat. Then there's also presses and deadlift. How important the squat is, if they can only do one exercise, they do squats because it's working almost all the muscles in the body. So we're going to do a few more squats. And again, I'm going to change things up a little bit. So again, my feet are about hip width apart. I like it that way. You can change that too. You'll feel a lot of difference. I'm going to sit my hips down. I take my arms up, counterbalance. As I come up, I'm doing pretty much like the deadlift, but I'm going slower, because that's where you're supposed to be holding the weight, controlling the weight as you come up. Like I said, I'm going to make this a little bit more challenging. I'm going to add just lifting my heels as I come up. Exhale, I'm coming up. Inhale, I'm sitting down. Yeah, well, we've taken a little pause, not really a break, in another minute or so. Because if you're feeling this really a lot, stop lifting the heels, maybe don't lower the squat down as much. Because you want it, when you do a squat, you want to bring your hips down to as low as your knees. Well, I'll show you. See, use the chair. See how the chair, it's a little bit lower than my knees. So I want to almost touch the chair and then come up. Yes, very important. But again, we'll take a break by walking in place. Some are not feeling enough from this yet. Keep doing some more squats as the rest of us take a little bit of regrouping. Because we're going to go through them again, very simple, of the power weightlifting in reverse order. But so I'm just walking. You can walk faster if you want. You can almost run in place if it's easy, if it's too easy for you. But we're going to come back to the presses, or I have just I just showed the plank poses. Forearm plank and plank on the hands. So I'm going to try to add a little bit more to this by lowering down, doing like a push-up. If your hands are bothering you, just stay on your forearm. So I fold over. I'm going to step back, the plank. So the important thing to remember, I had said before, that the shoulders need to be over the hands. When you start to get tired, you lift your hips up and you start chasing the chair across the room. That's not what we want. You want to push straight down into the ground. Your shoulder blades spread onto the back. My chest lifts up. My navel draws in, and I'm going to lower down and come up. A push-up. So if this is too hard, just stay in the plank. If it's too easy, you could do this on the floor with your hands on the floor. Or you could use the band and you can do the plank pose with the band. Okay, I'm going to come out. I'm going to just step forward. Come up. Let's take the band. I want to make sure that we're using the muscles in the upper back like we did earlier. It's called a reverse fly. So it's not part of those exercises, the press, the deadlift, and the squat. But the muscles in our upper back need to be very strong. They have to be at least as strong as the muscles in the front, and that's very difficult because we tend to do more with the front of our body. But when we're out of balance and the muscles in the back are weak, what happens, it takes our posture out of the line and creates all kinds of postural problems. So if this is, again, too easy for you, you could add a walking or marching in place or running in place. But I want you to start to feel like I'm feeling a burn in my upper back. Very important. We're going to do some stretches later. I always do my stretches at the end. We're going back to the deadlift. So if you want, we have dumbbells here. I'm going to use the dumbbells as if I was using a weight. So again, I'll start off with the basics. My legs are firm but a little bendy. My back stays straight. See how my ears, shoulders, hip stay in a line. The tendency a lot of people do is they'll round their back. So I'm going to keep see how my weight stays on my leg. I just lower, sliding it down. So what happens is a lot of people come in here and you see them, they do their back rounds, taking their spine out of place. I come up. When the vertebrae come out of line like that, that's where the weakness is. Like I said, there were a lot of considered to be a risky exercise. The counter to that, as somebody was saying, which makes sense, there are no bad exercises. There's good exercises done badly. And a lot of people have hurt their backs doing deadlifts. They're trying to probably lift too much too soon before they've learned how to do the posture, the alignment first. I learned this from a power weightlifter, and he made us do this with a plastic that weighed probably less than a pound. And we just did it over and over again until you had the movement right. So important. You can't stress that enough, because once you've done that, your back is really going to be a problem for you. And then you probably not a good idea to do these exercises at that point. And that's too bad, because there's so many benefits to this. Maintaining a strong posture. So I'm turning to the side to do the squats. Even here, my alignment of my spine. When we don't work the upper back enough, the shoulders roll in, head pushes forward. Not good. Coming into our final of these 3 exercises, the squat. So I'm going to do them a little slower. I'm going to take my hips back and down. I take the arms up, I pause, and I come back up. So if this is too easy, add some weight. But notice how my knee stays over the ankle. The thing I see people do wrong most often is they keep pushing their knees forward over their ankle. When they do that, you put strain into the kneecap. I've known quite a few people who got to the point where they can't do squats anymore because they just weakened their knees too much. You do these right, you can do this all through your life. I saw a guy on television the other day, 80 years old. I would not want to try to do the exercise that he was doing. Okay, I'm just going to walk in place. In fact, he had a young guy, 30 years old, and trying to keep up with him, doing about a quarter of the weight that he did. I'm saying, yeah, I'm like looking at him. I'm not going to laugh because I probably wouldn't be able to do what he was doing. If you start and you do it correctly and you do it regularly, for this guy probably like 50 years or more he did this, yeah. He's lost very little, if anything, over those years. I'm going to slow it down. And I'm going to add, we're going to come into which I call very important, always put the chair aside. If you need it, you can keep the chair closer. We're going to go to balancing. So if you need the chair, I try to do it without the chair because I want to see how my balance is without the chair. Because when you start to lose balance, that's actually a lot of good information. So I'm going to lean, I'm going to into this side, take the opposite leg up. And you start to feel, the tendency is you're going to fall inside. You might fall to the outside. That's just an indication of where the imbalance is. Okay. Now lower down and just pause. Now if you're falling towards the middle, the inside of you, that means the outside of the leg isn't strong enough. If you're falling out, that means the muscle on the inside of the leg needs more strengthening. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, or thereabouts. I'm just counting my breath. So if you find you have a weakness, this is really one of the exercises you can do to strengthen that. So I said we were doing hips. We're pretty much doing the front and back of the legs. Okay, I'm lowering down. Ooh, yeah. Balance, so important, and it's a great way to strengthen all the muscles, particularly the muscles that stabilize your spine. Okay. So we're going to start moving into some stretching. But we're going to do a little bit more for this. So if your outer hips are weak, which is a common thing, you fall to the inside, we're going to do some lunges. So I'm going to take a step to the side like we started off with. And you're welcome, if you're feeling stronger now or feel like it's not enough, you can use weights. So I'm going to bend my knee, comes up, and then to the other side. So this is great. I'm working the muscle in the outer hip and stretching the inner thigh. So we're subtly shifting to the stretching exercises. Maybe doing a little bit more balance. If you feel like you had trouble with the previous balance pose, you may want to use a chair or at least hold on to the chair. And then we're going to come into a stretch for the back of the legs. So I'm going to just fold over. Again, my back stays straight. I'm just reaching down slowly, little by little, stretching my inner thighs and the back of the leg. Yeah, so this is great to strengthen the outer leg and stretch the inner leg. So strengthening the inner thigh is a little bit more difficult. It's hard to explain this. But I'm gonna do it, and you're not gonna see any movement. With my sneakers on, I'm gonna grip the floor very tightly. I'm gonna squeeze my legs like I'm trying to slide the legs together. Oh, very hard. Yeah, see, I'm working very hard. It may not look it, but I'm working very hard. Ooh, okay, release. And then I'm gonna bring my feet in a little bit more, but I'm turning my hips out, so my toes out. So I'm gonna come into what's called another squat. It's called a Pele Squat. It's kind of like ballet, but it works. I'm just gonna lower my legs down, my hips down, and I'm gonna keep lowering until my hips come down about as much as I can. And then I'm gonna slowly come up, but I'm not straightening the leg. Up, and then I'm lowering. Just pulsing, a pulsing squat. doing at about, I like to do a little more than normal with this, doing about 30 of 20, maybe 20. You could do up to 30, but I'm gonna come out about now. My feet are a little closer together, and I'm just gonna fold back down again. Stretching the back, which we did a lot of work on today. Inner thighs. Coming up. Okay, we're going to start to walk in place and rolling my arms around. I'm lifting my shoulders up, turning my arms out. As we're going to start to go a little deeper into the stretching, and we're also going to stretch kind of, well, we're going to go into stretches. So you may want to hold the chair with this. This is just a little different because it's going to challenge the balance. You may actually get a better stretch sitting in the chair. Up, and I'm going to switch and go to the other side. So I'm going to bend my other leg, grabbing the ankle. I'm just breathing. It's the breath that's calming the nervous system, allowing the muscles to let go and stretch. Now I'm going to come to the other stretch. I bring my foot forward, sit my hips back. I put my hands on the bent leg, not on a straight leg. It's very decisive. I'm doing the bent leg, stabilizing myself better than with it on the bent leg. Coming up, we're going to do some stretches for our front and our upper body mostly. So I'm going to interlock my fingers behind my back, and I lift my chest up, stretching the front of the shoulders. This is to stretch the muscles that we used while we were doing the plank poses and the push-ups and the presses. We will stretch the back. The upper back for me got a little tired. I'm going to take my arms and I'm going to take take one arm over the other. You could just give yourself a hug. If you can wrap your arms around each other like this, like a snake. Stretching out between the shoulder blades. And we're just going to do the other side, and then we'll finally get to sit down. I try to avoid sitting as much as possible because we're going to sit more than we should. So we want to avoid that sedentary position. It's generally one of the worst postural places for us to sit is in a chair. Release. Whew. Okay. So now we're going to sit back down. We're going to do those difficult stretches. Again, now it's going to be a little bit easier. I'm just going to take my leg alongside the chair and back alongside of me. So I'm stretching this muscle in the front of the hip that we were doing before. Just making it a little easier. Now that you're more stable, you can slide your foot back. You may be able to actually get a better stretch here. Remember this for the future. If you find standing a little bit too difficult, but the advantage of that, it does create more strength. I'm going to come back to the straightening the leg, just like we did before. Now I'm using a chair as I'm stretching the back of the leg. It's all about the stability. When we're less stable, we actually helps to make us stronger. Going and do the same thing on the other side. But when we're more stable, we can really use this to get a deeper stretch. So it's actually better to stretch slowly. I mean, the less of the stretch, particularly after the muscles were working and spasming out and working, it's better to go a gentle stretch. And then after you've done a gentle stretch, then maybe now we can go a little deeper if you want. We're always stretching after exercise, not before. The last of our stretches. And generally, the longer the exercise, you get to the point where you may not even want to stretch at all. Let's come to our seat. Finally getting a sit. Relax. Just exhale. Inhale. Take your arms up. And exhale. Relax the arms down. And just do this a couple of times as well. Slowing the body down. I'm just going to come to my pause. You're welcome to do that a few more times. Any other stretches that you feel that you may need. Other than that, we should be fine to go. Thank you and have a nice day.